everyone. Welcome back to the Biohacking Beauty podcast. We're so grateful you're here with us, and we have such a special guest. So, in this episode, we're joined by Dr. Amie Hornaman, known as the Thyroid Fixer, a functional medicine doctor, host of top-rated Thyroid Fixer podcast. She's the founder of Advanced Thyroid and Hormone Clinic. After being misdiagnosed by 6 doctors, she was able to crack the code on her own thyroid health and build a practice around getting patients the answers conventional medicine keeps missing.
We talked about many different things, but it all culminated to the fact that most of the people who are who have some kind of thyroid issue are either underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed, and how that reflects to overall longevity, overall life quality, but of course also skin longevity and skin quality. And we've tied all the knots for you in this podcast where you could take actionable steps in order to improve both your skin and your overall health through the steps that we've drawn with this beautiful interview. And obviously, it all comes down to this amazing book that she just came out with, which is called
Thyroid Fix.
Thyroid Fix. After we read it and we were extremely impressed, we just had to have her on. So we hope you enjoyed as much as we've enjoyed talking to Amie, and of course, that it would make you take the step and read the book. Without further ado,
Welcome, Dr. Amie Hornaman.
Okay, welcome to Biohacking Beauty. Welcome to our dear friend, Dr. Amie Hornaman.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me on. And I love hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, and Amie, obviously, we always love to have you on. However, there is a special occasion this time because you have a new incredible book that's out. So maybe I'll start. I want to jump right in because it's such an interesting book. Obviously, it's such a pertinent topic in today's world. And in the book, you call this the silent epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
And, forget, the proverbial people on the bus there for a second. And talk to me about, a person that was, across from you on the proverbial, across from you on a chair. What were they, with their face kind of confused and not knowing exactly what's going on with them? What are they thinking that's going on, and what is really going on as far as their body?
Oh, gosh, that's probably the best question I've been asked on like the 100 different interviews I've done. That's amazing. Okay, so this is getting me, sinking me into my feelings here. Sitting across from the women that I work with, even still today, that I have been working with for 30 years, the typical patient that would come into our practice is the woman who she has these symptoms. She feels like her body is literally rebelling against her. She feels like a different person than what she knows that she is or who she has been, whether she's gaining weight and she's trying absolutely everything to take off these 10, 15, 20 extra pounds that have come onto her frame in the last 6 months to a year. She can't figure it out. She's watching every Instagram health influencer out there, trying every supplement under the sun, every protocol, every master class. She's gone to 5 different doctors. She's invested in functional medicine, and she is just downright frustrated. Her hair's falling out. Her skin is dry and flaky. She looks 10 years older than she actually is. She's constipated. She got brain fog, anxiety, depression. Her doctor's handing her an antidepressant script, maybe a blood pressure medication and a statin on top of that. And she is just done. And basically, she's at that point where she's going to give up hope soon. She's going to throw in the towel, and she's starting to medically gaslight herself, telling herself, you know what, maybe it is my fault. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe I need to eat less and exercise more. Maybe I just need to drive myself into the ground and spend another $10,000 on biohacking equipment to try to help this body that's running away from me. That is the woman that I'm speaking to in the Thyroid Fix. She's either diagnosed or she's undiagnosed, but she is suffering and just wants answers and just wants to feel better like who she used to be.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure our listeners recognize themselves. And a lot of the times they come to our podcast because of, they're experiencing issues, a lot of the time skin issues that, the serum couldn't solve. But we'll get to that later and how hypothyroidism manifests in skin health. In the meantime, I wanted to talk a little bit about statistics that you bring up in your book. What we know as a statistic, that 5% of women have hypothyroidism. However, you're saying that based on your practice, the number is closer to 10 to 12%. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about the disconnect between what the literature says and what you actually see in real life in real people.
Oh, absolutely. So, with the literature, the numbers that we have on hypothyroidism, those are the diagnosed people. Those are the ones who, yes, their TSH or thyroid stimulating hormone, which is the marker that every single doctor across the country will test. If you go into your doctor's office and you say, I want a thyroid panel, they're going to test one single marker, TSH or thyroid stimulating hormone. And that's a brain hormone, it's not a thyroid hormone. And if that marker is elevated, if it's flagged high, it's got a little H next to it, maybe it's colored in red, then that individual will be told by their doctor, you have hypothyroidism. But what about the rest of the population? Just like I just described, that woman that's suffering with symptoms that she's going to doctor after doctor after doctor saying, please tell me what is wrong with me. And she's being dismissed. She's being told she's normal. Everything is fine. This is just old age. You're going through perimenopause, you're going through menopause, you're just getting older. This is what happens.
Yeah.
So that subset of the population that's walking around undiagnosed is as large as the population that is diagnosed. In fact, I would argue in conventional medicine, I'm betting that there are more people undiagnosed than there are actually diagnosed because we dismiss. We test one marker and then we dismiss.
Yeah, so this is really what it is. Like there's this one marker, and if you don't have like high enough or low enough score, then you're dismissed. Wow.
Absolutely. And they're not looking at the full picture either. So
Uh-huh.
they're
Yeah.
looking at this one marker. It would be like, okay, you're driving, you go into the car, the mechanic, and your engine light's on and it's clunking and it's making these weird noises. And the mechanic comes out and looks at your oil gauge and goes, oh, well, there's enough oil in here, you're good. And you're like,
Uh-huh.
wait, excuse me. It's like making sounds like I can
Uh-huh.
barely go above 20 miles an hour. Like something's
Uh-huh.
wrong with the car. No, we
Yeah.
checked your oil. It's good. I mean, it's the same thing. When
Wow.
doctors just look at TSH and send people on their way, like, no, you don't have a thyroid problem. And people are leaving the doctor's office with their hands up going like, wait a minute, then what the heck is going on with me? It is the same thing that I just described with your car. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
How much of the gap is undiagnosed and how much of it is undertreated or even mistreated?
Oh my gosh, I love you for saying that. That's true. That as well. That as well. The mistreated and the undertreated. Oh, well, I would say just if I have to grab a number based on what I see, not just from the people that come into our clinic, but also my followers, my listeners. I mean, you guys know you get comments from your audience all the time. You get questions all the time. And we have this really active Facebook group that people are in there asking questions and posting their labs and literally telling us what they're being told by their doctors or by their practitioners. So to answer your question, Amite, I would say it's half of the population, or maybe even over half, that actually have the diagnosis are being mistreated or undertreated. And I can explain a little bit more as to why. Because the standard of care model, and I talk about this in the book, the standard of care model is to test your TSH, like we just said, that one single marker that is a brain hormone, not a thyroid hormone. Test TSH, and if that's high, if it's flagged red, then you give that patient Synthroid, levothyroxine. You give them T4 medication. Now, many of your listeners right now are nodding their head. They're going, "Oh yeah, I'm on Synthroid. I'm on levothyroxine. That makes sense." Okay, that little pill that you're taking that T4 is inactive. It does absolutely nothing in your body. So we're literally giving you, or conventional medicine is giving you, an inactive thyroid hormone. Because the premise is, as it was taught 60, 70, 80 years ago in med schools, that the body will take that inactive thyroid hormone and it will convert it into the active thyroid hormone T3. Now, 60, 70, 80 years ago, we weren't living in the toxic soup environment that we're in right now with EMF exposure and pesticides and glyphosate and chemicals in our water. And I mean, just everywhere we go, we are being bombarded one way or another in our bodies, our toxic load, our nervous system. We simply can't transform that T4 into T3 like we used to be able to. But conventional medicine hasn't caught up with that. They're not recognizing that we're living in a different environment than we once were a century ago. And just our hormonal cascade is different. So we need a lot more help than just giving someone T4 only and crossing our fingers and wishing on a rainbow that the body converts it properly. Most people do not convert T4 to T3 properly, but that's still it is still the standard of care in conventional medicine today.
Uh-huh. I see. I wanted to bring it a little bit more to skin health, with that notion that right now the conversation is really loud around menopause and what that does to your skin, to the point that there is a lot of like assumption that most of skin aging that you see after, let's say, you hit 40s is all related to estrogen going down. And why would that be incomplete picture based on your practice and what you know about hypothyroidism?
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that you brought this up. So you're 100% right. We are in one instance, it's fantastic that we're now shining a spotlight on women's health and on perimenopause and on menopause, because it was really once dismissed. It was pushed aside. It's like, oh, that's not important. We're not going to help women out when they go through that rough transition in midlife. And now we're getting a lot more love and attention on it. That's fantastic. But what I'm kind of shouting from the rooftops is, hey, wait a minute. We also need to pay attention to the master gland, the thyroid. And I talk about thyropause in the book, The Thyroid Fix. And what thyropause is it's that intersection when a woman crests the age of 40 and her hormones start to change. And even men, when you crest the age of 40 and your testosterone starts to drop, that's a huge stressor in your body. And even though it's a natural thing that all people that live long enough will experience, that hormonal decline, that is still a major stressor in the body. And what happens right around that time is the thyroid gland, which plays in the same sandbox as all of our sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, thyroid actually starts to decline as well, along with our sex hormones, but we're not paying attention to it. We're looking over here going, okay, the black box warning is off of estrogen. Now we can give estrogen to women. But over here, they're still suffering because no one is looking at that master gland, the thyroid. And when the thyroid is low and slow, you can throw all the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy on a person that you want to, but they're never going to reach that optimal state and live their best life ever if their thyroid isn't optimized. Now, when it comes to skin health specifically, we know, again, the thyroid is the master gland. Estrogen is not a master hormone. Testosterone is not a master hormone. It acts on certain receptors in our body, but not all. Thyroid works on every single cell in your body, 30 to 40 trillion cells, except thyroid hormone, need thyroid hormone. So naturally, when we're talking about your skin and we're talking about aging in general and aging of our cells, the thyroid has to come first as that first piece of the puzzle that you look at, even before you go downstream into the sex hormones, into estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. You have to look at the thyroid. One of the classic signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism is dry skin and advanced aging. And we will see that immediately on a person's face. So, and if we don't see it as the clinician, it's the patient themselves coming in going, I'm looking in the mirror here and I'm pretty sure that I just aged like 10 years in the last 2 months? What exactly is happening to my skin? And they'll see it on their face and they'll see it on their body. You know, they'll start to see their mother's knees or their mother's arms, right? Like, wait, my mom used to have loose skin on her elbows. And now I have loose skin or on my forearms. And that is that loss of elasticity, collagen, elastin production, the slowdown of cell turnover, that skin cell turnover that we need so badly to have beautiful skin. It starts with the thyroid, and then we can trickle down and talk about estrogen and the foundation of your skin and the collagen and elastin, but you have to start with the thyroid.
So, how fast, since you talked about that cresting of the 40, how fast does this kind of cascade take to really show up? Is it within a few? We know that women, mainly women, but it can happen to men too. But mainly women have two kind of onsets of like really rapid aging. One is around the age of 40 and the other one is around, the 50s, mid 50s. So is that something that happens extremely quickly, or it's like, a bamboo where a lot of things happen in the background and then boom, all of a sudden we have this manifestation of a process that happened for a long time appearing in the skin very quickly or in the body?
I think it's unique to each individual and their genetics and how quickly they're going to move into perimenopause and menopause. Some women are lucky enough that even just genetically, like their mom didn't hit menopause until the age of 55. So they might have a longer runway of youthful skin before they get hit with that shifting of their skin and their youthfulness. Whereas other women, I mean, women can go into a surgical menopause. I just had someone write in our Facebook group saying she went into surgical menopause. I had a hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy with ovaries taken out at the age of 36. And so it can be as early as a woman's 30s if they experience a surgical menopause, or as late as mid 50s. But somewhere in there, I always joke, I say none of us are going to age in reverse like Benjamin Button, right? We haven't figured that out yet. As soon as we do, whoever figures that out is going to be a millionaire, but we cannot age in reverse yet. We can do things to slow it down. We can do things to reduce the appearance of aging, but we can't reverse it. So we're all going to lose hormones. We're all going to lose it. It's just a matter of, how fast are we going to lose those hormones and how is it going to hit us? And here's the big caveat. How are we taking care of our skin in our 20s, 30s, and 40s leading up to that time that is going to happen at some point in time in your life? So if you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to wait until I hit menopause and my skin just goes to crap to actually start investing in some good high quality skincare and start paying attention to my skin. Like I'll just wait till the wrinkles come until I feel like I don't look like myself anymore. And then I'll take care of my skin. No, that's the absolute wrong approach. Because just like we talk about taking care of your body in your 20s, 30s, and 40s leading up to perimenopause and menopause, we have to have that same conversation around our skin. Because we know what's going to happen to our skin when we hit that midlife and hormones start to change and our thyroid starts to decline. And yes, we can jump on it then and say, okay, I'm going to test my thyroid, I'm going to test my hormones, I'm going to optimize them, all the things. But if the 10 to 20 years prior to that was you treating your skin like a carnival, then it's not really going to matter what you throw into your body in terms of hormones at the age of 40 or 45. Your skin's not going to be able to catch up to that because you've treated it so poorly for decades.
Yeah, no, that's such an important message. And we talk a lot about like NAD banking, collagen banking through, proactive steps. And I think also women slowly but surely they caught up to the math of like quick fixes versus long-term investment. So it used to be that approach that you described that, women would see the issue and then go to do interventions that are quite costly, and you have to do them every 3 to 4 to 6 months depending on how quickly the results wear off, and that can be including everything and anything, Botox, fillers, lasers, pills, whatever, and,
Yeah.
but without long-term plan, right? So then there's no compounding effect. You just have to do it and do it, and the window of time you have to do it becomes more and more frequent. Um, versus now, thank God, there is like advanced science, and we actually have a chance to get our hands onto compounds that like stack up and compound over time, be it NAD plus precursors, be it spermidine, be it exosomes, peptides. So it's quite it's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to take care of our skin. And if you have that mindset of building something long term, now women have access to it.
Yeah, and apropos talking about women and access and kind of making decisions, obviously that would compound later. What would you say? Let's assume there is this 39, 40-year-old woman. Let's call her Camille for that matter. And Camille looks in the mirror. She exercises very well. She eats very well. She owns a Theragun or whatever.
Listens to Huberman.
She listens to Huberman. She she has a tattoo of Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I'm kidding, but she does all the right stuff. She bought La Mer a couple months ago. She probably regrets it, but she goes. She did the conventional things, and she looks in the mirror. And it's just, as you mentioned before, that the skin looks, whether it's lackluster, whether it's brittle, whether it's drier than she experienced it before. It just looked like it aged very, very quickly. I would ask you, what is the first thing that you would want her to do? And what is really the first thing that you see people do and you would want them to stop doing maybe, or to stop them from doing? What's the message there?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I can relate to that, Amite. I can relate to Camille because a year ago I had that happen to me. So it was when I was diagnosed with uterine cancer, and the diagnosis came, and it was kind of like that initial shock, right? I was on hormone therapy, and you get that diagnosis, and even if you're a functional practitioner like myself, when you hear the big C, it makes you kind of take a step back, and you literally do start to question what you teach, right? You go, oh my gosh, how'd this happen? What am I doing? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need? So I mistakenly, I pulled back a little bit on my thyroid medication, and I pulled back on my estrogen. And in really like 3 to 4 weeks, I saw my skin radically change. And I had that same oh my gosh, is this even possible for this to happen so quickly? And I reached out to colleagues, and they're like, yeah, it is. It actually is. So 2 things that I did at that point in time that I would tell Camille to do. Number one, you do not drop your hormone therapy. Don't second guess yourself. When you're feeling good, you keep on those hormones that have got you to that optimized place in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So you have to work from the inside out and optimize your hormones, optimize your thyroid, because they work together, play in the same sandbox. Then you have to work from the outside in. What do I mean by that? So that's when, at that point in time, you get a little bit lax in your skincare routine. I fully admit it. I am guilty. I get supplement fatigue, and I get lax in my supplements. And sometimes I just get self-care fatigue, and you just throw on some moisturizer and you go to bed. Well, I double down. And I've said this over and over and over again. My audience knows that I said it on a meeting today. I have been a fan of Young Goose since y'all started. And I have been a diligent user. I have everything in the Young Goose line. So I started I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to get really regimented with my skincare routine. Yeah, I'm using the peptide spray. I'm using the serum. Then I'll follow up with the care or the pro care. Now you guys have the exosomes, which is just mind blowing off the charts. Then, the hyperbaric mask every single night. Eye care for under my eye. So I started getting real with it and doing the exfoliating and getting more regimented with my skincare routine. And then I started to see the change. It has to be the both and. You have to be working internally and externally at the same time. So those two systems, those two things, those two activities can come together and work together so you get the most bang for your buck. I mean, it's the same thing when people ask me, well, what do we do first, thyroid or hormones? I'm like, you do both at the
Yeah.
same time. Like, why would we just work on the inside and treat our skin like garbage and expect to have good skin? Why would we just treat our skin, but inside we're hormonally chaotic and we're all over the place and we're ignoring that? Like, you have to do both at the same time.
Yeah, it reminds me people that I try to convince to lift weights, and they told me, gotta get in shape first. I gotta get in shape
Yeah.
first. I gotta eat better first. I was like, eh,
Yeah.
first of all, you
Yeah.
should definitely do that, but it's it's like a
Yeah.
different yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted to use your experience as a practitioner and help our listeners a little bit to understand lab work or even approach labs and testing. Because I, for example, when I gave birth, I've also felt like, the cocktail of hormones that is happening. I started worrying about my thyroid, and I lost my mom to breast cancer at age 7, and she suffered gravely for 5 years. And her suffering started with thyroid problems, and they thought that's kind of like that's what she's going through. And then later they find out about cancer. So I have been living pretty much since age 7, knowing that that can happen to me, and experiencing some symptoms that right now I understand it's also postpartum symptoms really scared me. And then my OBGYN, when I shared with her that I want to do a lab work and I want to do extensive panel and I really want to check my thyroid health, and I shared with her my history, my mom's history. I mean, it couldn't be more conventional. Like, she was like, you don't really like, here's what we can do, which was very basic and very limited. And you don't really have any predispositions to do a more extensive panel. Like, basically you know, your insurance won't cover it. And I don't know, I won't try to find deeper reasons for you to prescribe this to you. So I ended up going to a different practitioner, like functional medicine practitioner, and do a deeper panel, which frankly, also just to say that at 4 months postpartum, they're like, yeah, your labs are kind of all over the place, but also that's the time. So you kind of need to retest later. It's really hard to diagnose you right now. But that's just my personal kind of like story. So I know firsthand how hard it can be to get the right lab work and testing through a regular provider. And then also, like, you don't really know what is even you're supposed to be testing.
Yeah.
So can you help us with this?
Yes. Oh, that's so frustrating too. So wait, have you not been retested since then? Because your
No, no,
baby's what?
Let me
2,
tell you,
3?
she's been retested and it's annoying. This
No.
person is like
I have been.
Okay.
so annoying.
I kind of like, I have this chip on my shoulder since what happened with my mom, and
Yeah.
and she was so young. She was only 35 and I'm 36 now. So it's just I'm testing like myself at least 2-3 times a year. I do like very extensive blood work. It's just I have to go outside of regular family practitioner, and I do it basically
Yeah.
out of pocket with people that I don't know, understand a little bit more what I'm looking
And
for.
her results are always spectacular. And she's like
Good,
Dave.
everything's good, but
But that's what the Dave Asprey always says. What does he say?
I actually don't know.
Do less and get more, whatever.
Work
Yeah. Work smarter, not harder.
harder.
That's the one. You see,
Try not harder.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that, but
No, but twice a year is perfect though for you.
Mhm.
I think 2 to 3 times a year is perfect to really take. And I would give that message to your audience too. 2 or 3 times a year, get that full big workup. So now when we're talking about thyroid, we
Mhm.
want to look at, and you can let me know if this is on your test, Anastasia. We want to look at, yes, TSH, like we talked about already. That's always going to be on a thyroid panel. And you can just leave that there. It's not important, but you can just leave it on there. Then we want to look at free T4. That might be the other marker that your conventional doctor will test for. And so you might get a TSH and a free T4 if you're lucky. You'll get those two packaged together on every single thyroid panel that you ask for. Here's the caveat though. Those two markers aren't even really important. You could throw them out the window, don't really even care about them. What we really, really, really need to look at is free T3, reverse T3, and then the two Hashimoto antibodies, which is thyroid peroxidase and thyroglobulin. So let me back up. So free T3, I had said earlier that T4 is inactive and T3 is active. T4 has to convert and become T3 to do anything in your body. So those 30 to 40 trillion cells in your body all have receptor sites on them for the active thyroid hormone T3. We want to know how much unbound, ready to attach to that cell T3 you have in your body. And in order to get that number, we have to look at free T3. And of that free T3 marker, we want it optimal. So there's kind of two steps that people have to take. Number one, they have to get the right test done. And like you said, you go to your conventional doctor and you're getting these half-ass panels. They're not even the full thing. They don't give us all the information. So number one, you have to fight for, demand, and sometimes pay out of pocket for your own lab so you can get the full picture. And then number two, you have to look at those labs, the results of your labs through an optimal lens. We don't want you to just be normal. We don't want you to fall into that standard lab value range that's next to your result. Every single lab has them. You can pull out your lab right now next to whatever, your glucose, your free T3, your TSH. You're going to have that standard lab value range, that reference range. Now, it's important for people to recognize that that reference range was taken from groups of sick people. Somehow, some way, we tested a bunch of people in the hospital of all places, and then we got this range. And it makes you scratch your head and go, well, why in the hell would I want to be the same as somebody who's sick in the hospital? Right. That's where functional medicine comes in. That's where we're like, we want you optimal. We want you like living life like a rock star. So here's a much more narrow range that you need to fall into. It's like a tight bullseye. Instead of hitting the dartboard, you got to hit the round bullseye circle in the middle. But that's where you're going to feel your best. So for free T3, we want that in the upper quadrant of the range. And I give all of these optimal ranges and all of the tests in the book. But for the people listening really quickly, they might want to jot this down. Reverse T3 tells us how well you do take that inactive T4 and convert it to the active form. Reverse T3, we want below a 12. If it's above a 12, you have major conversion issues that we need to do something about. And then we look at those two antibodies to just tell us whether or not you have an autoimmune condition. Because here's the thing, 95% of all hypothyroidism is Hashimoto's, or the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. It's where your immune system, your body thinks that your thyroid is a bad guy and likes to go out and attack it every so often. When we know that you have an autoimmune condition, we can address that on a much higher level because we also know that autoimmunity will affect the skin. So we want to know that piece of information so that we can do things to reduce inflammation, maybe add in black cumin seed oil, high quality omega-3s, turmeric, curcumin, all of those things that are beneficial to the skin too, to take down inflammation. We can be, again, working from the inside out and from the outside in to improve our skin.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth like highlighting again that when you look at the what's within the norm for a lot of the testing, it's wild how this was tested on sick people. I'm actually following someone's journey right now on Instagram. She went from ferritin 6, like having the number 6 on her for her
Yep.
ferritin, to 76, and she was experiencing so many issues when she had low ferritin, but that low ferritin somehow in the United States fell within the norm.
Yep.
And then she was just originally from Russia, and she remembered that, wait a second, for us it wasn't. How, like, am I missing something? Was it a mistake in my test? Did they misinterpret it? And then she realized that, oh, okay, here it says it's within the norm, but it's actually isn't. And then she talks about basically getting her life back with raising her ferritin levels. So it's such an important point that you bring up about the norms
Yeah.
that are not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going back to the. I think there is a little bit of an infatuation right now. Part of it is definitely correct with estrogen right now in women.
Mhm.
And we see it obviously in skincare. We see it a lot with our clients. With kind of, we get a lot of AMA type kind of prompts for our audience to ask us, and we see a lot of people ask about estrogen creams, and this is to what you said before, and about kind of not going from a whole body perspective, like a thyroid and other holistic players perspective. First principles is that you are really trying to meet the result in the lowest common denominator of what you could, how you could affect it, instead of trying to see what the root cause is, what you can affect at the most root level, and try to push change in a much more holistic way. Are you seeing it a lot? Are you seeing a lot of people who are kind of starting at estrogen, are trying to focus on hormones first, obviously, or on prescribed first, maybe even testosterone these days, and it takes a long time until they figure out hormone, thyroid is related?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say yes, because just like what you said, the focus and the spotlight has been on, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and more so estrogen, yes.
Yeah.
And what we see in the practice is a lot of women will start on those bioidentical hormones, which are great. They have a ton of phenomenal properties, protection from the body, for your heart, your brain, your breasts, your bones. But then they ultimately hit a brick wall. And that's where they're going, no, wait a minute. I'm seeing on Instagram all these women that their lives are so much better on hormones, but I don't feel any better. Like, my skin's still dry, my hair's still falling out. I haven't even lost these damn 15 pounds that came on. And, they're still struggling, even though they put on hormones, and they're kind of disillusioned. They're like, wait a minute, everything on Instagram says that I'm supposed to feel like $1,000,000 just adding these hormones in. And that's not the only solution. I mean, there's so many things, and you guys can speak to this. There's so many things that go into healthy skin, like NAD banking and using the right peptides and using a formulation that actually penetrates deep enough in the skin to make those cellular changes. You got to go over here and look at thyroid. You have to look at insulin, because that's inflammatory. You have to look at your entire body and how it fits together and address all of those little pieces of the puzzle internally, again, while you're working externally.
Yeah, and I really liked how you coined the term thyropause. Did I say it correctly? Thyropause?
Yes,
Thyropause.
thyropause. Yes.
Yes. To really address, that it's such a big part or counterpart to menopause, and that the two shouldn't be treated separately. You really benefit from addressing both at the same time.
So
Exactly.
maybe let's define it clearly. more cleanly. What is the
Yeah.
difference, for example, between thyropause and what the kind of, again, going back to that menopause and skin type community is already talking about, is already in the zeitgeist?
So what we're talking about right now is, still that time in a woman's life after the age of 40
Yeah.
where hormones start to change. And, we're getting more, like I said, more of a spotlight on perimenopause, where women in that kind of perimenopausal state are now being kind of validated for their symptoms, where they're like, oh my gosh, now it makes sense why I want to rip my husband's head off and, kick the kids out of the house
You
one
have a
day.
problem.
And then, right. And then, I'm all loving and I'm like weepy and I'm emotional the next day. And my period is every 35 to 45 days. So they're being validated for their symptoms in perimenopause. And even menopausal ladies now are finally being validated to a point that, okay, this isn't the time in your life where you just throw in the towel and call it quits. This is a
Mhm.
time where you can transition to that vibrant, wisdom based time in your life, but you don't have to feel like garbage and be walking around half bald with dry skin and carrying an extra 20 pounds on. Like that's not how menopause is supposed to be. But going
Mhm.
back to your question, the difference of thyropause and perimenopause, menopause is that the thyroid, my definition of thyropause is when the thyroid gland craps the bed after the age of 40 due to fluctuating hormones. So we have those hormones that start to fluctuate. Progesterone will decline first, then testosterone, then estrogen eventually, and that's when a woman heads into full-blown menopause.
Yeah.
What happens in that fluctuation time is that the thyroid actually starts to decline production of T4 and T3. So your healthy thyroid at one point in time is pumping out these two thyroid hormones. It's pumping out T4, it's pumping out T3. Now that T4 that it pumps out gets converted. Like when you're younger and you're healthy and you don't have insulin resistance or estrogen dominance and body's not loaded down with toxins yet. You're not spending all day in front of EMF cameras and phones and like we do. The body can properly convert that T4 that your healthy thyroid makes into T3 and you live your best life and you're good. But as those hormones start to shift, oh, that T4 to T3 conversion. Oh, wait, it relies on progesterone to convert. It also relies on essential nutrients that are depleted from our soil. It also relies on us not being insulin resistant, like 93% of all Americans are. We need to be insulin sensitive, which means we have to be eating correctly. Like all of that depends on progesterone. How about that? Oh, wait, and there comes testosterone, the next hormone to decline in a woman's 40s, sometimes as early as 30s. Testosterone protects us against autoimmunity. So as that testosterone drops, guess what also drops? This armor, this shield that you once had against autoimmune conditions, Hashimoto's, lupus, MS, alopecia areata, celiac disease. That shield starts to come down along with your testosterone. Now you're more exposed. Now you're more primed to that autoimmune condition turning on and flaring up. So that's why, thyropause and perimenopause might present the same way, where you'll say, wait a minute, I just gained 10 pounds. Oh, is that because I lost my progesterone and testosterone? Or is that because my thyroid function is declined? Or I'm not converting my T4 to T3? Oh, I'm really brain foggy and moody and kind of like anxious and bitchy at the same time. Is that a decline in progesterone or is that a
Yeah.
decline in your thyroid hormones? Because your brain relies on thyroid hormones. So there's this crossover that occurs that really the only way to weed it out is to test and not guess. I mean, we really want to get that full picture of your thyroid and your hormones and everything else so we can look at it and go, all right, Camille, here's why you feel like garbage. And then we just lay that all out and then we can address it properly. Once we have the data, then we know what to do with the data, or at least if you're working with someone that knows what they're doing with thyroid and hormones, they know what to do with the data.
Yeah.
It might not
Yeah.
be your conventional doctor, your OBGYN.
Yeah.
That's like exactly what I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking that like, thank God there are practitioners like you that can wrap their mind around all of it, and it's so far and few in between. So you're really doing God's work, and we feel so fortunate
Yeah.
that you're here to share your wisdom. And I of course highly recommend everyone that's listening to, if they like what they're hearing and it speaks to them and they want to understand more, obviously they should read your
Yeah,
book.
we had to rule out so many questions that are in depth. They're like, okay, they're gonna have to read the book. That's T2. All right, they're gonna have to read the book.
So I want to let you know, as my co-host,
Yeah, I know.
that I'm ready to move to the rapid fire questions. But if you have
I have
any
one more
other,
question.
sure, let's do it.
So, just as let's do the lowest common denominator, like the lowest hanging fruit here, as far as like kind of a takeaway that we can get from that from our conversation. And obviously, people definitely should read the book. It's an incredible book. So let's build a morning, just a morning, just one morning for Camille when starting tomorrow. Sunlight, protein, 2 supplements. If she only takes 2, and one nighttime move that she can do. Again, not like a 30-day reset, but really just
Right.
like tomorrow morning.
Yes, tomorrow morning, Camille gets up and she's got to break the human behavioral pattern of grabbing her phone first thing in the morning, like we all do, right? So the best thing for her, and the best thing for her blood sugar regulation, which ties into skin health, and the best thing for her insulin sensitivity, because we want to get her out of that insulin resistant state that 93% of all Americans are in, is to get up, do not look at your phone, go outside. Hopefully it's light out early enough, and get some sunlight into your eyes. Even if you can't walk outside and do the grounding, at least getting that morning light into your eyes actually does, yes, studies back this up, actually does make a huge difference in your blood sugar and your glucose regulation through the day.
Yeah.
So doing that one act in the morning is huge for overall health. And then, again, I'm not a big fan of long fasting for women. So if Camille wants to skip breakfast, that's fine. But I do want her eating by like 10 or 11 or maybe latest noon, because I don't want my ladies going on these 24 OMAD fasts. And for
Yeah.
that matter, I don't even want Camille doing really an 18-hour fast. Max is 16 hours if she can get the protein in. So I'd like Camille to start with a protein-based breakfast when she breaks that fast through the night, after she has, looked at the sun. Then she can grab her phone, have her cup of coffee and whatever, but then have a really good high protein breakfast, because all of this is supporting thyroid function. People might be, sitting there going, well, how's protein going to support your thyroid? It's supporting your body. It's protecting your organ of longevity, your muscles. It's protecting your hair. It's giving you amino acids as building blocks for your hair, your skin, your nails. So starting the day with protein is key. And then as she moves through the day, and we're going to assume that Camille is going to be doing her thyroid and hormone testing, right? We're going to get that data on Camille. We're going to test and not guess. But from a lifestyle component, what she's going to do at the end of the day, and women women benefit the most from this, bookending their protein. So I talked about Camille starting the day with a high protein breakfast. She can also end the day with a high protein snack. I mean, 2 scoops of a really high quality bone broth based protein powder, blend that up, make it into ice cream, make it into pudding, use that as her nighttime Netflix snack. You end the day, book ending with a higher protein meal, sometimes maybe 40 or 50 grams. Then Camille doesn't have to worry about the middle of the day so much. Like, oh, how am I going to get in my protein during the day? I'm so busy. Bookend it. And as you're having your little nighttime protein Netflix snack, you're going to wear some blue light blocking glasses, and you're going to protect your eyes from that blue light from watching Netflix or looking at your phone. Ultimately, Camille will shut off her phone and shut down Netflix like right around 9 or 10 in a perfect world. But, hopefully she's just getting to bed at like 10 or 11 to really get that rest and repair time between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. That's when humans are meant to be sleeping. And that's when our rest and repair happens, in that deep sleep, in that REM sleep, as our bodies move from deep to REM in that time frame.
As I call it,
yeah,
that's when humans become Hubermans.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So that's Camille's plan for the day.
I love it. I listen to you and I do so many things right, but there are so many things that like I've
Yeah,
always
you got to come with us in the morning outside.
yeah, in the morning I'm not as diligent and I should do better. And I am always like in the middle of the day, like, okay, I gotta have my lunch and some like, the one thing that I'm working on changing is like not to have my lunch while having meetings, but I'm still far from it. And I know that's not the optimal way to set rest and digest
Yeah.
system when
Right.
you're like, in a race. But like sometimes I skip dinners because I just like I had my kind of late rushed lunch and then with the toddler, the bedtime and everything, then so kind of already too late to eat. So I go sleep a little bit hungrier, which overall maybe helps with better sleep. But then if I do wake up in the middle of the night, or like my toddler wakes me up and then I can't go back to sleep, I'm actually hungry and I'm like, oh, I wish I had dinner. But
Yep.
I'm going to try and change it and have like that heavy protein snack, which actually my dad used to make me like a protein yogurt ball
Yes. Yes.
as our Netflix snack. But our toddler's bedtime routine changed. He's going to sleep a little bit later. So all of our routine changed as well. But that's like an insight for me that I'm like, gotta do better. I
Yeah.
gotta do the
Ty's got to do better and make me the
No.
snack again.
There you go.
The sunlight and the snack. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna insist he makes me the
Okay,
snack.
let's do
Okay.
some rapid fire.
Okay, to finish with the bang, we're going to ask you a couple rapid fire questions. So those are meant for like quick insights for our listeners, and those make great for Instagram clips. Okay,
Perfect.
so most overlooked skin symptom of a struggling thyroid.
Oh, crepiness, excess crepiness and really dry skin. Women will see it under their eyes and midlife women will really see it kind of around their mouth and cheeks that skin starts to get like kind of orange peely crepey.
Mhm. Okay, all right. Um, Hair loss from thyroid dysfunction or something else. How do you tell the difference?
You test, don't guess. I mean, you test everything: thyroid function, DHT, testosterone, hormones, insulin, because they all play a role in hair loss. So you have to find that root cause, and sometimes it's more than one cause.
Okay. Um, okay, can you fix thyroid related hair loss or is it the damage permanent?
No, you can absolutely fix thyroid related hair loss by fixing the thyroid. Now, I will say that hair regrowth takes the longest of all the symptoms. It's
Yeah.
the longest, it's the most, labor intensive. Women will lose weight, feel better, start pooping again, and get their brain function back long before their hair will come back. It's a waiting game, it's a patient game.
I think
Don't hold on to your poop until you get your hair back. That's what you're
well,
There
that,
you go.
I,
There you go.
I do think that's very empowering for people to know that
Take it.
just takes longer and that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, one nutrient deficiency that takes thyroid function and shows up on your face. That
Oh gosh,
tanks,
so
so I don't
many
know.
of it. Y- I want to say omega 3s, but with a close second is going to be protein. That's not
Uh-huh.
necessarily, that's more of a macronutrient
Yeah.
deficiency.
Mhm.
Whereas, something like, omega 3s, zinc, magnesium would be a micronutrient. But yeah, I would say omegas and a healthy fats in general for the micronutrient, and then protein for the macro.
Is iodine deficiency more like a fat, like something
myth?
people like to talk? Yeah, myth, or is it also one of the things that would drive
Oh,
it?
iodine deficiency is huge. It's a very controversial topic too, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people in our space that doesn't believe that they don't believe in iodine supplementation, especially if you have
Yeah.
Hashimoto's. But I just go by the science. So iodine actually helps us detox from the toxic halides and halogens that we're exposed to: fluoride, chlorine, bromide. So it helps the thyroid gland work better. It helps convert T4 to T3. It helps with hair growth. It helps with dry skin. It helps with so many things. I tell every single one of our patients to go on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
one final question. Biggest mistake people make when trying to fix their thyroid on their own.
They use a screwdriver and then really.
I love that. Yes. Oh goodness. Okay. When they try to fix their thyroid on their own, the biggest mistake they make is listening to everything they see on Instagram. So, literally, tonight I'm doing a webinar on why you can't fix your thyroid naturally. And I pulled literally 5 different Instagram posts that
Wow.
they were actually posted. I'm like, how do these people? One of them is eat raisins and heal your thyroid. The other one is eat sweet potatoes and heal your thyroid. The other one was like drink aloe vera juice and come off all of your thyroid medication.
Oh, our
I mean, the
neighbor.
amount
Yeah.
it's insane the amount of bad information out there, and people believe it and they try it and they waste days, weeks, years of their life trying to do this because they saw it on Instagram.
And many raisins. They take the lives of many raisins for nothing.
Oh my
Well,
gosh, I love you.
Amy, it was so lovely to have you. I listened to your podcast and I learned so much, and it's such an honor to have you for a second time, actually.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy life and pouring yourself and your knowledge into this book that will change lives. You
Yeah.
change lives every day. Really, we love you so much. Thank you for
And
everything that you do.
and shout out to your amazing supplements, Thyroid Fixer supplements.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
We're going to have links to everything in show notes. I hope that, you know, people will start following you if they haven't yet, consuming new information. So we'll have a link to your podcast. We'll have a link to your Instagram. Anywhere else that people can connect with you. I know you mentioned Facebook group.
Yeah.
I don't know how easy to get to your Facebook group.
Oh yeah, the Facebook group is super easy and it's a fantastic group. If you're listening, you're one of the 2 people that we talked about today. You have a thyroid problem, but you're not feeling your best. You're being treated, you're being medicated, you're not feeling your best, or you have all of the symptoms that we talked about and you're like, I'm just not quite sure what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Join the Just Fix Your Thyroid and Hormones Facebook group because it is a supportive, beautiful, loving community. I'm in there answering your questions. My nurse practitioners are in there answering your questions. We will give you feedback on your labs, on your symptoms, on your anything that you want. So join that group. It's a fantastic group. And then dramie.com is the main website. If you're interested in actually working together and fixing your thyroid and hormones the right way, we do prescribe to all 50 states. So you can book a free call with us and we're going to go over what you've tried, what you haven't tried, all the different doctors that you've seen, all of the disappointments that you've had. And we're going to hold your hand through the process.
Yeah. And if your name is Camille, I mean, come on.
Then you have to call. I mean, come on, Camille. We talked
Come
about
on.
you all day today.
Anyway, Dr. Amie Hornaman, the great and powerful. We love you as a person. You are always a great time to hang with. And this was a very fun podcast to do with you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys as well.